From the Boston Celtics, who are an incredible franchise, to maybe one of the biggest dumpster fires we've ever seen in the Sacramento Kings. So their draft history has been god-awful. Marvin Bagley does look good, but in the past, even for 2017, Justin Jackson, Harry Giles might be a good find. But then in 2016, trading Marquise Chris, Malachi Richardson, Skal Labissiere, Isaiah Cousins, Willie Cauley-Stein, Nick Stauskas, Ben McLemore, Thomas Robinson, Bismack Biyombo, Jimmer Fredette. Why have they been so bad?
You know, it's funny because everyone wants to say that the NBA draft is a crapshoot and that you're kind of lucky, when you get what you get. But that said, there are enough teams out there that have consistently picked good players over the years, year after year, and certainly players that can contribute. That cannot be said about the Kings. And you could see it in the ownership and in the general manager and how they've recycled, and they can't seem to get it. I have to imagine at this point, you got to look at the ownership, and they're the ones who have to pick the people who are going to make those draft picks. So that's a real issue there. It's an evaluation thing. There's a thing where you get enamored with people who play well, like in the NCAA tournament, who might not have been good before that and shouldn't be that high. They have done okay. I like De'Aaron Fox. I think he's a good player who is on his way. So there are those little, things that you could point to that are worthy of a pick. But yeah, if you don't have the correct scouting and evaluative processes, and you continually every year over a year keep doing this, you got to do something to change that. I don't think they've been able to find a guy that can do it.
And how much influence do you think that teams like the Kings have when it comes to the coaching staff and then also management, because they have been known to pass up on some really good picks in '98 with Dirk Lewinsky, and then in '09 with Steph Curry. So they've had opportunities to make, and I know it's hard to really look at the potential of these players. So it's a gamble at the end of the day they are taking. But how much influence does, let's say, a coach who is maybe, and I'm assuming that we're looking into, I'm focusing on a dedicated coach who's going to these high schools and going to these colleges and really scouting these players early on. How much influence does the coaching staff have with the Kings and their management?
It's a little bit unclear. We've gotten glimpses into their live shows during the draft day where they have the coach in there and they're all sort of talking, deciding. So it is a little unclear. I don't know if the coach has enough. And by the way, the head coach is too busy coaching the team to be scouting and looking at those players more than maybe a couple of clips on a highlight. So it really needs to be the scouting. But the interesting point you brought up that you're sort of talking about is, can the coach then help the improvement after they draft him? And that's something we've seen with the Spurs. We've seen it with the Warriors as well, and other teams that seem to do much better at that, like the Hawks when Budenholzer was there. So that's another issue: is the coaching staff that's in place right now helping develop the players properly? That certainly hasn't happened there at all. And that is a thing that's been can point out to a number of teams in the NBA that simply lack a A1 development process. And without that, you can see how the Spurs, for instance, can keep plugging players in who can be productive no matter when they're drafted or when they're signed.
And they also have an owner. I think you hit the nail on the head originally. They have an owner that wants to play 5-on-4 defense. This is an owner that wants to try to put up 170 points a game. It's just not gonna happen. So yeah, I agree with you. It falls on him to make the right personnel decisions, because at the end of the day, he's judge, jury, and executioner. They're just the ones collecting checks. If you made it to the end of this video, mazel tov. If you wanna see more, hit the bell and hit subscribe. Why don't you?